If you're an author or plan to be one, get excited because this podcast is for you. Book Marketing Mentors is the only podcast dedicated to helping you successfully market and sell your book. If you're ready for empowering conversations with successful marketing mavens, then grab a coffee or tea and listen in to your host, international best-selling author Susan Friedman.
Welcome to Book Marketing Mentors, the weekly podcast where you learn proven strategies, tools, ideas, and tips from the masters. Every week, I introduce you to a marketing master who will share their expertise to help you market and sell more books. Well, today I've got something very special. I've got two special guests, Victoria Bennett and Charmaine Hammond. This dynamic duo run the Crowdfunding Hub to help authors raise their dreams and bring their book projects to life through crowdfunding. So let me introduce each one separately. So Victoria Bennett is a seasoned marketer with 25 plus years of experience working with top brands like Ariel and Pampers. She's passionate about crowdfunding and launched the Crowdfunding Hub in 2019 to provide education and tools. Victoria is a sought-after speaker and recently received the Queen Elizabeth II Jubilee Medal for her support of startups and community. And by the way, listeners, that is some prestigious medal. Victoria, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Charmaine Hammond, CSP, has been in the speaking industry for more than 25 years and is an 11-time best-selling author and appears as a frequent guest on media and podcasts, sharing her unmatched speaking sponsorship and entrepreneurial experiences with business owners, nonprofits, authors, and speakers looking to expand their reach and their impact of their projects. She's the executive producer of the award-winning film Back Home Again. Well, it's a pleasure to have both of you on the show, Victoria for the first time, and Charmaine, welcome back to the show because we had you, I can't even remember, maybe a year or so ago, you were a guest here. So welcome to the two of you.
Thank you. Great to be here.
So crowdfunding, I have been looking forward to this interview because this is something that I've been fascinated by, the whole idea of crowdfunding. And now that you have put together a program, crowdfunding for authors, that just is like explodes my mind because I'm so excited about that. Let's start at the beginning. And first of all, what is crowdfunding? I think that's the most important thing and how it works specifically for authors. I know we're going to have a tag team as to who answers questions, how. So who's going to take the lead?
Crowdfunding in its modern day terms is raising funds from a large group or crowd of people who each give a small amount of money. So it's really activating your community so that they can help you achieve that amount of funding that you require. In the modern days, typically that requires some sort of online platform.
Excellent. Yeah. And there are a lot of different platforms out there, I know, and I'm sure we'll come back to which ones are specifically good for authors, because I know things like Kickstarter is good for innovative products, but I never even thought of it as potentially something for authors. And what are the benefits of crowdfunding? Let's talk about that.
The key one is, raising your funds, but there are so many benefits above and beyond that. Just to give people an idea of the sort of the numbers that we're talking about, in 2021, there were 3,724 publishing campaigns in 2021. If that gives you an idea of sort of how many there are out there. And most of those would be what we call a rewards crowdfunding campaign, where people back the campaign and in return they get a reward. And that could start with something as simple as the book itself. But when we talk about what are those additional benefits, you might have in your campaign something like, for example, if your book is a business, and Charmaine's the expert at that, but what you may end up doing is you might have, if you purchase or if you back this campaign at this level, then I will get on a call with you. We'll do a Zoom call, and you can actually, perhaps if you're a consultant, you can offer an hour of consulting time. You can also use it to sell your business. The other thing that you can do is to set your brand up, because you're getting awareness. So if you are looking to either position yourself or, and we've got somebody at the moment, reposition yourself, this is something you can do because you're getting into the public market and you're telling people your expertise, your great writing capabilities. So that could be a second benefit. Thirdly, if you have different formats, so going back to sort of more of the sort of nonfiction style, you might be going, should I have a planner or should I have a workbook to go with this? You could put those down as perks and you see which one people follow, and then you can actually follow on with that. So that way you're using it for market research. But you're building a community, you're building a crowd of people who have a relationship with you directly. And how often do authors get that? Usually you're going through Amazon, you're going through a bookstore. You don't get that direct feedback. That's probably the biggest thing you're getting that relationship that you can nurture and use, whether for your next book or for your business. But you can also use it for market research. You can also use it for direct sales, and so thereby making more money. There's no middleman taking their little cut.
One of the things I'll add to that too is that so many authors write books that are not related to what they do in their business. And I'm a great example of that. I speak and train corporately on topics like conflict resolution and collaboration and resilience. Yet I have this book that I wrote about my dog and a children's series about my dog. And so when I became published, I had to build my author brand, and my audience that I had for my corporate work might not have been interested in my book. And so one of the benefits of a crowdfund, when Victoria was talking about you're building your community, you're building your crowd, is this allows you to build a crowd that's specific to your book versus a crowd that might be specific to your coaching services or your consulting or your speaking. And I think that's really such a big opportunity for people, especially when their book may be different than what they do sort of in their business. And I would say the other piece of crowdfunding that I love is just the energy and buzz around pre-selling your book. And so many authors, they get so close to the done line, the finish line, and then they run out of steam, energy, or funds. And this allows people to complete their book and launch it in that professional way that they dream about launching it.
Now, what about an author who already has a book? It's been out there maybe for a few years and hasn't done particularly well, and they really need that injection of money to do some marketing to sort of kickstart it?
Yeah, that's a great question, Susan. And I get excited. You can hear it in my voice that a couple things that can happen. Sometimes what authors will do is in a perks campaign, as Victoria was talking about, if they're generating revenue for a new book, they might have their existing book become part of the perk. So for example, when you pledge at X number of dollars, not only do you get my new book that's coming out, we're going to send you my current book. So it's reviving the book that an author currently has. Then there's the other strategy, which is amazing, is where authors might want to not be working on a new book. They want to, as you said, kickstart or bring some life back into that current book. And maybe they're raising funds to have the book available in other languages, or maybe they want to turn it into an audiobook, or perhaps do a speaking and book tour or a book and blog tour. Maybe they want to be able to actually, if they have a book that might be relevant to charities, they might want to have a campaign where the crowdfund helps them get bulk copies of the book into different schools or charities or organizations. And sometimes authors who have an existing book are wanting to create wraparound products or services. So for example, they've got the book, maybe an EPUB and print, but now they want to create a video training series or a workbook or a journal to complement that book.
I could go down many different avenues with all of this, but I like to get basic, as you know, and that is, how do we get started? Here I am. I'm an author and I decide that I need some funding to help me, yes, get the book published and a cover designed and then, of course, the marketing aspect of it. But where would I begin?
Well, the first thing I would say is plan. Charmaine, you know this so well, but we see campaigns for fabulous books, but the person has perhaps put something together over a weekend, launches it, and then they get nothing, crickets. One of the things about crowdfunding is it is a bit of, as we say, gamification. Your success breeds success. Planning is absolutely key. We recommend 90 days before you want to launch to really prepare. And then running your campaign, if you're in Europe, it's usually about 30 days. In North America, it typically is 45 days. When you start at the very beginning, what you're looking at is you're trying to identify who your target backer is and what's in it for them. With a target backer that's typically your target reader. And one of the things that we found, running our crowdfunding for authors campaign is actually, it's been really impactful doing that because people have gone, I thought I was writing this book for this person, but actually I'm writing it for this person. And this is how I want them to feel at the end of it. We actually had an author on our last cohort who went back and rewrote their book based on that thinking. So whilst this is beneficial for your crowdfunding campaign, whilst this is beneficial for raising capital, raising cash to launch your book or to prepare your book, it's also useful for your book. There's lots of benefits here. But what we look at is who is your target backer, your target audience, what's in it for them. We look at what your budget is. So really costing out how much it's going to take to get to where you want to get to. So for some people, they use it to develop their book. For some people, they use it to launch their book. And as we've heard, for some people, it's to relaunch or reinvigorate their book. How much do you need? And, that can be things like the printing, production, etc., editing. But then you also have the marketing. There's marketing for your crowdfunding campaign, which is typically about 10% of what you want to raise. That's a ballpark figure to work with. But you put that full budget together, and then that's going to be sort of the amount you're looking to raise. And to your very first question, or actually second question, you also think about what are those other benefits. If, like, you have a podcast, if you were doing a crowdfund, you might want to get more people signed up for your podcast. So those could be the official sort of additional non-financial goals. So that everything you're doing when you're preparing your crowdfund campaign is to help you not just raise the funds, but also help you to get more people signed up for your podcast.
What about the actual money side of it? I mean, what are we looking at? Are we looking at a few $1,000s? Are we looking at into the 5 figures, 6 figures? How much can we even think about raising?
I think we can both respond to this one. Victoria, you have so much experience in many crowdfund sectors. I know we have an author we're working with right now that is getting close to 20,000 on her crowdfund. And I have colleagues and clients who have raised, who their goal was 5,000. I've seen a lot of campaigns for authors, sort of, Victoria, at that 7,500 to 10,000. It's sort of like they have this final push to get the book out. But for authors that are, I would say, writing the book or have a very big vision for their book, so multiple formats, maybe more than one language, doing a tour, some launch events, I would say that we see a lot of them between $10,000 and $20,000 is the amount. And Victoria, I'd love to hear your thoughts as well.
Yeah. One thing is, if you Google crowdfunded books, you'll see these ones which are in the millions. And I just want, yes, that is possible, but it is incredibly rare. And typically they are working with an agency and they will be spending upwards of 300,000, $500,000 to achieve that. So I don't want people to go in going, sort of. The other side is I always like to get driven by what you need the funds for. So having sort of like the minimum that you need to actually launch the book. And then you might have extensions such as your book tour. But I agree with you. I mean, if you look at sort of the likes of, say, Indiegogo, they're saying around about that. So 10K is what they're expecting. But, you also have to sort of put into, let's be realistic, for if you're doing something like this on your own and not planning, sorry, that's my one takeaway, and not planning, there is quite a high failure rate in this. So if you, as you say, you just put something up on a weekend and build it and they will come. Well, I'll tell you now, they don't typically come, and over half of those campaigns will fail. But if you're looking at around that, as I say, 10K, this is a brilliant mechanism. If you want to raise more, you absolutely can. Just requires a bit more planning, requires a bit more funding because you've got to do the promotion. When you're looking at those sort of higher levels, you may want to use a professional agency to help you. But then if you were launching a book and you wanted it to be on Oprah Winfrey's reads or whatever, you may end up wanting to use a third party to help you achieve that anyway.
Yeah, and you talk about the planning as being a mistake. I mean, I love talking about mistakes. So other than a lack of planning, what are some of the other mistakes that you see authors make?
How long have we got on this podcast?
You could write a book just on that subject, I'm sure.
Yeah,
there's a long list. Some of the top mistakes, Victoria's talked about not having a plan. That's number one. Some of the other mistakes that people make is that they're not clear on their goals. So they know they want to do a crowdfund to raise revenue, but they're not really clear on their objectives, what they hope to accomplish. And the other, I would say the big mistake is that people look at their target audience as being everyone will love this book. Everyone can benefit. And it's really hard to market to everyone. We need to market a crowdfund to a specific group of people, i.e. your exact readers. Those are some of the mistakes I see. Victoria, you see many as well.
Oh, yes. That's absolutely key. I mean, the niche. Yes, anyone and everyone might choose your book, but if you try and speak to everybody, then you're not going to speak to anybody. The biggest challenge at that point is if you're writing a fiction book, and perhaps you have a little paragraph or an example in there so people can sort of see your style of writing and really get hooked in. But if it's not targeted to them, they're going to read it and go, meh. You'll end up spending money, time, and wasting it going after people that will never back your campaign. But if it's really well targeted, people are going to read it and go, wow, I just want to get this book. Oh, I love this author. I'd love to do this. And so they get really excited. And so they want to back your campaign. So completely agree on that sort of the niching.
In terms of the backing, I would like to go down that avenue. You want people to back you. Now, how do you get people involved that they're going to, help you raise the funds?
Typically, a third of the funds come from people you know. A third of the funds come from people they know, and a third of the funds come from your additional activity. Now, I will tell you, in our previous cohort, we had somebody who said, nobody is going to back my campaign. I have nobody in my crowd. But what, we always believe is just reach out and tell them, because everybody who's an author that I've ever met is passionate about what they're writing about. And if you share that passion with your network, and tell them what's coming down the pipeline, let them choose. If you didn't do that and you have a really successful campaign, people are going to be really upset that they weren't asked. Why didn't you ask me? I would have done that. And then what we recommend is actually giving those people the tools to share. That could be with their networks via, social media, via emails, just chatting about it. Hey, my friend's writing a book about X. Oh, that's cool. Making sure that people have that ability to share from that first third to the second third. And a lot of that is all around the trust. And this is one of the things I think super cool with crowdfunding is it's a one-to-many. So you as an individual are speaking to many people who could back your campaign. But on the other side, the many get to hear from you. And how often do they get to do that, to get that personal relationship? If you're sending an email out to 100 people, 1,000 people. That still feels like a personal interaction, but it's only taking you the time to write one email that then gets personalized out to everybody. It's a way of reaching out to that audience in a very cost-effective, time-effective way, but making that personal relationship. That's what will get people excited. And then people are like, oh, this person's really cool, or I love the way they write, or the information they share is really important. When the campaign comes out, they want to back you because they're committed to you and they're committed to your book. I think that's where the 2/3 of your funds are going to come from. Now, some people think, oh, if I put it on Kickstarter or Indiegogo, everybody's going to see it and they're going to want the book and it will sort of sell out. The builders and they will come. It doesn't happen. The highest percentage you can expect from those platforms is 10 to 15%. And that's only if you are selected by the platform and they promote it. And they only do that if you trigger the algorithm. And the algorithm is that you achieve over 10% on your first day. The data actually says you should be looking to achieve over 11% on day one and a third in the first week to have campaign success. If you get picked by the algorithm, you may get 15% of your total raise from the platform, but it's 15%. So it is not build it and they will come. And just to talk to that final third, what is that final third? Well, it could be generating really good content on social media if you feel comfortable to do so. And there are many ways to do it for those people who are a little freaked out by social media. It could be putting content out there through some other channels. So Medium, LinkedIn, if it's more of a sort of nonfiction, you may want to do a press release. You may want to do, there's all this other activity. You may want to get onto your local radio station or your local TV station or a write-up in a local newspaper. Those are sort of activities that can really raise profile of you as an author. And then at the end, we happen to sneak in the fact that you're doing a crowdfunding campaign.
Nice. So you talk about the two biggies, the Kickstarter and Indiegogo. Are there some smaller platforms that our listeners need to know about that would be better fit for authors?
You should mention that. So, it's a duopoly at the moment. It's Kickstarter and Indiegogo on the rewards crowdfunding campaign. Sometimes when people go, don't know what a crowdfund is, if you say Kickstarter or Indiegogo, it's a good way for people to twig, what are they talking about? I'll just sort of put it out there. We have seen recently somebody put it on a GoFundMe, which is more of a donations it's more of a sort of to cover medical bills or tragedies, etc. Mm-hmm. So GoFundMe doesn't seem a very good fit for me. Indiegogo and Kickstarter have been around for years and they do a lot of things right, but there are other ones that are coming through. We've worked with another one called Crowdfunder. And there's a missing R, E before the R, so crowdfund and then the letter R. Their platform has raised over $250 million from over 100 countries. One of the reasons we mentioned them is because they handle the shipping separately from shipping included in. And I just think that makes it easier. So going back to who that target audience is, if your target audience is just North America, you might want to do and you're on Kickstarter or Indiegogo, you just want to do a blanket shipping fee. So it's going to be $10. Make sure it always covers your picking, packing, and shipping. And you might just say, all right, my book's $25. I'm going to add $10 on for shipping and everything. So that's $35. So that's what your amount you're going to show. But if somebody from Europe orders, what am I going to do? And it just makes it either you limit your audience or you don't want to be left where your costs aren't fully covered. Definitely don't want to do that. This is supposed to be a way of making money, not losing money. That's one of the reasons we like about Crowdfunder is it does it separately. So if somebody from Europe wants to get your book or any of your perks, then they're charged for separately. So you're not having to sort of calculate everything out. It just makes life so much easier. So there are other benefits as well. One of the great things with rewards crowdfunding campaigns is they're pretty broad geographically. So it's not like with some of the other crowdfunding types where you have to go to a local platform. You can go for a platform that really works for you.
Excellent. Well, I know that our listeners are going to want to find out more about your services because you guys are the experts in this, helping authors get money to make their dreams come true. Because often, especially when it comes to marketing, so much money is put into producing the book. And then when it comes to marketing, there's nothing left. So tell us how our audience can find out more about you.
We run, in fact, we've just kicked off, we just had our second week of our crowdfunding for authors cohort. So Charmaine and I tag team on a course, and we're bringing a cohort of people together that over 12 weeks, we will plan, prepare. It's a get it done session. At the end of it, you are ready to launch your campaign, or if you haven't already, and we really sort of help you and support you, but also you're in a cohort. So there's other authors in there. We found it a really supportive environment. I'll let Charmaine speak a bit more to that, and then I'll come back with something else we also have.
I'm just going to mention too, a great way to find the Crowdfunding Hub on socials and website is exactly that, the crowdfundinghub.com. The other piece that I'll mention as well is that sometimes authors are looking to bring sponsors in to help them with their projects related to their book. And Victoria and I in the program actually talk about how do we bring sponsorship into this crowdfunding campaign. And I get really excited about that. So we really encourage people to follow the Crowdfunding Hub on social media because Victoria and her team are constantly giving out tips and strategies, and they review different campaigns. And that's a great way to learn. And of course, people can also find me on raiseadream.com or through Victoria's, the Crowdfunding Hub.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're going to get inquiries because this is a subject we've not touched on at all. I think we've mentioned it occasionally, but the fact that you guys are specializing in it is so cool. Hats off to you because it's well needed for this.
One thing I was just going to mention, Susan, though, is if people are sort of a bit on the fence, like, is this right for me? Some people sort of like to get lots of information beforehand. If you join the Crowdfunding Hub's community, the Hub, there's actually a free program in there that walks you through what is crowdfunding, what the benefits of crowdfunding are, and really sort of the outline of the 90-day plan. And it just helps people go, yes, this is right for me, or no, this isn't. And so just offering that as a freebie out to anybody listening, if you're not sure. And the one thing about it, if you're in the Hub, it's a community. All the authors who've been through our cohort are in there. We have anybody who's running a crowdfund of any type is in there. So it's a big community, and it's a sort of a safe space for people to say, I'm thinking of running this. What do you think? And my team is also in there. So we can help you make that decision whether crowdfunding is right for you, which I think is a really important one because, it's not quick. It needs a bit of effort to deliver behind it. So it gives you a chance just to make sure that it is the right thing for you.
Excellent. And they can find that video on the website, correct?
If you go to the Crowdfunding Hub to join the Hub, which is our community, and we give you 7 days free. And then after that, it's $9.99 a month. So it's not going to break the bank if you decide to stay, but we wanted to give everybody the chance. You should be able to get everything you need in that first 7 days. And then if it's not right for you, cancel before, you have to pay a penny. So it's a safe way of finding out if it's right for you.
Excellent. Well, thank you. And as you know, we always like to end the program with a golden nugget. So I know you've given us already so many. Victoria, Charmaine, what do you want to leave our audience with?
Oh, there's so many things. If I narrow it down to one, I would say get started. Because as Victoria said, crowdfunding is a process, it's a journey, and we need planning. If it's something that you're looking at for your book, go and check out other campaigns, see what's going on in the sector, sign up to go be a member of the Crowdfunding Hub and get those resources Victoria talked about. Because every day that you don't get started is a day away from being able to launch your campaign. And I always believe that as an author, you put your heart and soul into that book, and the world likely really needs your message right now, and it deserves you putting your running shoes on and getting started.
Excellent. Thank you. And Victoria, anything else to add? I know planning is top of your list.
Yeah, but I'm going to build on what Charmaine said is, just Google book crowdfunding campaigns, see what you like, see what you don't like, perhaps back a campaign, see what the process is like. It's really helpful just to get a feel for everything. And, absolutely what Charmaine said, get it done.
Lovely. Thank you. You've been fantastic. I know there's going to be a lot of interest, so I really appreciate you both being here. And listeners, if your book isn't selling the way you wanted or expected to, let's jump on a quick call together to brainstorm ways to ramp up those sales, because you've invested a whole lot of time, money, and energy, and it's time you got the return you were hoping for. So go to brainstormwithsusan.com to schedule your free call. And in the meantime, I hope this powerful interview sparks some ideas you can use to sell more books. Until next week, here's wishing you much book and author marketing success.